Okay, all right, everybody. Welcome to this. It's Dr. Kush's Exotic Drinks. I'm, of course, Dr. Kush, back in the bar. There we go. With the lanterns. Hot mic. Give me a second. I think I know what to do. But in the meanwhile, I'm going to whisper. Oh, yeah, look how hot that is. Oh, baby, it's at 53. And it needs to be at 26. There we go, almost double. Listen, guys, that's what we're doing here. We're learning. We're all learning how to do things. Some of us are learning how to make cocktails, right? Some of you, I think, assume you're learning different parts about cocktails. I, myself, am learning how exactly inept at this technology I am. And I'm learning that every day. And that really is ideal. Speaking of ideal, I meant to do that. Speaking of ideal, tonight's cocktail is a wrap it up, tie it with a bow. It's a classic. No doubt about it. This thing floated around all over the place. This cocktail was a big deal. So big, it showed up in all the big cocktail books, all the big ones, even making its way, and not all of them did this. Okay? Not all of them made it down to Cuba, into the Cuban books. This one did. Started with Hugo Enslin. We know Hugo, very famous for cocktails like the Aviation. Made its way to the Savoy. Okay, well, those guys will take anything. If it was a cocktail being made at the time, well, it was getting written about in the Savoy. But they didn't all make it down to Florida. And that's the version we're going to be doing tonight. We're going to be doing a version of the ideal cocktail that is coming out of Cuba. An ideal cocktail from Cuba called the Ideal Cocktail. And the best part is it comes with nuts. Oh goodness, what did I do with the nuts? Well, anyway, we're going to get nuts. Nuts are currently being flown in right now. Got flying nuts coming right at me. And that's the place I like to be. Nuts. We got them. We got them! If we're making Cuban cocktails, we're not stirring. Even though you could stir this cocktail if you were so inclined. You gotta do something with your fingers right now? Stirring, fine. Anyway, we're shaking this cocktail. Let's go. Now, we're gonna be putting in equal parts of 3 different things. First thing we're gonna be putting equal parts in is going to be some of this. Gin. Gin doesn't show up in Cuba all that often. Gin is, of course, started as a Dutch thing, moved its way to England during, I believe it was the 7 Years' War, could have been the 20-Year War, could have been the 100-Year War. It was a war named after how long it was, which is odd, because how do they know? How did they know how long that war was going to be before they even started it? It doesn't matter. Let's put in 1 ounce of some dry gin. Boink. Gin and vermouth have been they're just linked. They're going to be linked for forever. The martini truly, really did bring gin and vermouth together. Normally, for a martini, of course, you would use some dry gin. We'll be using some dry gin. And for a drink like the Martinez, you would be using some sweet vermouth. Okay, well, why not? In an ideal cocktail, since those are 2 great cocktails, wouldn't it be ideal to make them both at the same time? Is that where we got the name for this cocktail? I don't know. Either way, we're using both. We're gonna start over here with some Italian vermouth. We're gonna be putting in 1 ounce of some Italian vermouth. This is French vermouth. Now, why would the Italian vermouth be so sweet and full of life and lovely, and the French vermouth be so bland and frankly rude? I don't know. That's up to you guys to decide. But that's what it is. This is some dry vermouth. Look for that little word. Because if you find a blanc vermouth, blanc, it's a sweet vermouth. It's a sweet white vermouth. Shouldn't be. Science, man. It's getting out. It's out of control. Sweet white vermouth. What? Okay, 1 ounce of some French vermouth. If you've blown out a wrist throughout your elbow, pouring those last things, you can just drink this one. Sit down. You've been on your feet all day. You're working hard, too hard maybe. But if you want to complete this journey with us, we got to keep going. Next thing we're putting in here is some of this guy, grapefruit. I assume that they used pink grapefruit juice. I don't know why. I just think that that's what they use. That's not what we're using. We use white grapefruit juice always on this show because I'm not going to buy 2 different types of grapefruit juice. That's rich guy stuff. That's having more bathrooms than people in your house. That's too much. 3/4 of an ounce of some grapefruit juice. Boop. One last ingredient. And I may be biased, but I do love this stuff. This is Luxardo Maraschino Liqueur. It is made from Croatian cherries, Maraschino cherries. Talk about it all the time. It was my Halloween costume this year. This is a fiasco. We're going to be putting in, and stay with me, 1 teaspoon of Luxardo Maraschino Liqueur. Now, like I said, you can shake this one if you want. That's what I want. So do that. You can also stir this one if you want. Give it a good hearty stir, though. This is supposed to be a cold drink. Ready? Back and forth, up and down. And then when it's done, it looks like this. Olay. The ideal cocktail calls for an ideal cocktail glass. This is a glass shaped after a famous dead lady's boob. To me, that's ideal. Pour this one right in. Comes with a side of almonds, or almonds, I believe I've heard some people say. Is it the most important part of the cocktail? Some would say yes. Those are the almond lovers of the world. This is the ideal cocktail. Hopefully we did it right. Cheers, Spelling. Yeah. Try it with garnish. So we're gonna drink and then nuts. That's way better. Great drink, better with nuts. It's Dr. Kush word.